Hey everybody and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at a bit of a different format for our video for class. So taking some feedback, we're going to basically be doing a bunch of shorter videos instead of one longer video. And what this is going to allow you to do is to watch a video and then do a question that's almost exactly like the content from that video. So the video that we're doing right now will correspond to just one or two specific questions that will look extremely similar to the ones that I'm about to do right now. And then for the next couple of questions, there'll be another video. So kind of breaking it down into smaller pieces. Hopefully those smaller pieces help you understand a little bit better and kind of digest things one at a time. So today our goal for this entire section is going to be graphing rational functions. There are a few steps that we need to take to get there. So we're going to start off with the first step for video number 1. So the first thing that we need to talk about is something called a vertical asymptote. And this just refers to when the denominator of a function is 0. And we've solved for that before. We said that those values are excluded, but when we're looking at this on a graph, when those values are excluded, it looks a certain kind of way. So for example, let's say that we're looking at the graph of a function, and it looks something like this. This is something, I think, pretty similar to what we're going to see. Well, our vertical asymptote is where our denominator equals 0, and basically it means that the function cannot touch that value. It doesn't exist at that value. So here, if this is like, I don't know, x equals 2, that is our vertical asymptote, x equals 2, because you're going to see that no matter what, this function will keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. It'll never equal 2. And the same thing here, it's going to keep going, keep going, keep going forever, and it's never going to equal 2. So when we're graphing rational functions, we're going to see this almost every time, that there's going to be this like line straight up and straight down that the function gets really close to, but it never actually touches. So there's a visual example of it. So the questions that you're going to see in the form now are going to be focusing on how do you solve for this vertical asymptote. And it's actually the exact same process that we did before. So we set our denominator equal to 0, and then we solve. So we'll go over 2 examples, and you'll have 2 examples similar that you'll have to do after. So let's say this is our rational function, for example number 1. So we follow that step, set the denominator equal to 0, and then we solve. Remember, denominator is the bottom, so we're just going to take this. We have x minus 4. We're going to set that equal to 0, and then solve it. And that is going to be our vertical asymptote. So if we're looking at this on a graph, again, just to show us one more time here, when x equals 4, something like here, you're going to see that this function would behave something like that. It's not going to be able to equal 4, so it kind of like splits. It'll go in the 2 different directions. All right, so now a second question, again, setting the denominator equal to 0 and solving. Let's look at something like x squared minus 25. Well, in this case, again, denominator is on the bottom, so we have to take x squared minus 25 and set that equal to 0. So again, remember, we have to be careful with these because we are able to factor x squared minus 25. So if we pull that out into a box, this is the difference of squares, so we can see this as positive 5 and negative 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 minus 5 is 0. Remember, there is that 0x term in the center there. So we're going to be left with here x plus 5 and x minus 5 both equals 0. So we can take this, set it equal to 0, and we can also take this and set it equal to 0. So there is one and then a second vertical asymptote. So in this graph, we're going to have 2 of those values that kind of split our function. So important here that we have 2 vertical asymptotes, and both of those are our answers. So that's our first quick video. Continue watching, continue doing the worksheet, but this should help you out with the first 2 questions on book widgets.